Hi besties, welcome back to my channel. So, welcome to 2024. No, wait.
What year is it?
2025. Sorry. We are now in 2025. And I wanted to share with y'all what I am planning on reading this year. Now, I am a mood reader, so even though I have a TBR that is miles and miles and miles long, I still usually kind of read however I'm feeling or like whatever I'm feeling at the time. There are always certain books that I still want to hit in any given year, and this year I do have a little more structure to my TBR because I have 2 reading challenges I'm trying to get through. So I'm going to share those reading challenges with you and the books I'm going to read for them, as well as some of my other hopefuls I have for this year, which is a lot. So I have like 25 books, which I guess works for 2025, huh? 25 for 25. I have about 25 books that I like really want to get through this year, which makes sense. My goal is 50 for the year. So I think that if I have a plan for half of that list and then read whatever mood I'm in the mood for the other half of the list, I feel like we're in good shape there. So 3 of my friends and I have a little unofficial book club kind of that we've done, but also we don't do. It's not a thing that we do regularly, but this year we are doing a challenge that is 12 categories. And so we each will pick 1 book in each category and try to read 12 books from those categories. Does that make sense? It'll make sense. Because there were 4 of us, we each submitted 3 categories for the challenge, which I thought was really fun. So they're all kind of different, but they're also, some are kind of silly, some are pretty thoughtful, and I really like the kind of conglomeration of categories and books that we've done. So here is our first challenge, which is 12 categories for 12 books. So category number 1 is a book with a mostly red cover. So the book I'm going to read for this category is The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Khaw. I am really excited about this one. I don't know too much about it, but I do know it is a horror novella and it's about mermaids, which is like perfectly right up my alley. So I'm really excited to read that. I will say I am really interested in reading Crying in H Mart, which also has a mostly red cover. And because The Salt Grows Heavy is a novella, which a lot of these are kind of shorter books, so I can kind of like know I can get through them. I feel like that I might kind of do a twofer a little bit. I don't know. I definitely know that some of these books kind of fit in both categories, but we are only picking 1 for each category. So the next category is a book with a mostly yellow cover. Can you sense the theme here? And for that one, I am going to read Chain Gang All Stars. I am really excited to read this one. It sounds super cool. It's kind of Hunger Games meets an indictment of our prison system. It is about incarcerated people who are forced to fight in televised gladiatorial matches. I think that is a fascinating premise, and so I'm really excited to read that one. I also think the title is just so cool, Chain Gang All Stars. I don't know, it's very cool to me. I'm very excited to read that one, so that will be my yellow cover book. The third category is a book with a mostly blue cover. For this one, this is a book that has been on my physical TBR since it came out 2 years ago. I bought it like immediately when it came out, and I haven't read it yet, and that is Fairy Tale by Stephen King. It has been sitting on my shelf. I love Stephen King, and I need to read it, and I know it's going to be right up my alley. It's obviously very fantasy, but I know it's also a little bit horror from the horror king himself. I am hoping I'm really going to like it, but I'm sure I will. One of my favorite series of all time. I gotta stop saying that. Okay, side note, can I tell you something? One of my favorite series of all time is by Stephen King. It is the Dark Tower series. I've never actually finished it though. I've read the first 4 books like 4 or 5 times, but I can't get through Wolves of the Calla, so I keep DNFing the series because I keep DNFing Wolves of the Calla, but I'm obsessed with the first 4 books. They're so good. Maybe that should be my goal for this year. Not this year, next year. Next year, remind me. I'm gonna try to finish The Dark Tower next year. Our next category is a book that was nominated for the Women's Prize in Fiction. So for this one, I am gonna read Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. It is a retelling of Charles Dickens' David Copperfield, and I'm I'm a big fan of retellings. I really like modern classics. When they're done well, I will say. I think this will be good and I'm really excited about it. Next category is a book by an African author. I'm going to read a novel, My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyinkan Braithwaite. The premise looks really cool. It is about a woman whose sister keeps killing her boyfriends. About sisterhood and romance and family dynamics. I'm really excited about this one. I think it's really, really interesting. So that is our next category and what I'm gonna read for that. The next category is a book with a sword on the cover. So what I am going to read for that is Throne of Glass. Before you're like, what? It's right there. I have not read any of Throne of Glass. I've read all of ACOTAR. I had problems with ACOTAR, but I did like ACOTAR. I am an ACOTAR girly. I want to read all of the maasverse, so, and I really, really, really want to get into Crescent City. Crescent City was actually the first SJM book I picked up, but I didn't read it. And then like when I started getting into book talk, I saw that like ACOTAR was the thing and my roommate had ACOTAR, so I decided to start reading that. And I really liked it. She didn't, but so I stole her copy and I gave her my copy of Neon Gods because I did not like Neon Gods. I'm going to read Throne of Glass. I'm gonna try to get through that series. I don't know what order I'm gonna read it in though, because I know there's like a thing about where to put Assassin's Blade. I did see something that I think reading Throne of Glass, the Heir of Fire is the second one, and then the Assassin's Blade. I'm a big machete order girly for Star Wars, so I understand that there is always a certain way to read a prequel or to watch a prequel. So I'm invested in experiencing it the right way. The next category is a book by a bisexual author. So this is going to be a little bit of overlap with the other challenge I'm doing, and we'll get to that in a second. But I am going to read Orlando by Virginia Woolf. I have not read that yet, but I do know that Virginia Woolf is just an amazing classic queer author. So I'm really excited to read Orlando. I have a friend who loves that book, so that was like, okay, well, if I'm gonna read Virginia Woolf, I'm gonna start with Orlando, so let's do that. The next category, which will also work for the other challenge, you might be able to guess what the challenge is after this, is a classic written by a woman. So for this one, for our 12 categories challenge, I am going to read The Scarlet Pimpernel by Baroness Orczy. I love The Scarlet Pimpernel. It is probably my favorite classic novel. I love 18th century France vibes, French Revolution, and even though this book isn't technically pro-revolution-ish, if I remember correctly, it's been a while, I still really, really, really like it. I'm really excited to reread that and kind of put it back in my brain. I read it in high school and then I read it again 2 more times because I was literally, we read it for English in high school and I loved it so much. I like immediately reread it to like read it for pleasure after, because there's such a difference between like reading for academic stuff and reading for pleasure. So yes, The Scarlet Pimpernel is what I'm going to read for my classic written by a woman for this challenge. The next category is a staff pick from a local bookstore. I'm going to read A Magical Girl Retires. I am so excited about this one. I can't even begin to tell you. My roommate already picked it up, so I have a physical version to read. It's about a millennial with credit card debt who becomes a magical girl, and I'm like, me? Can I be that? Like, I love magical girl manga, anime, like I got my little Sailor Moon right here. I'm obsessed. So I'm really, really, really excited to read this one. I think it'll be really good. And it was a staff pick from my favorite local bookstore, so I'm excited about that. The last 3 categories were the ones that I picked. So these are my category contributions to this challenge. The first one is a book set in space. Now, disclaimer, I actually just this morning at 12:06 a.m. finished the book I'm reading for this one. So this is kind of a cheater TBR because I already read it. But that was Heavenly Tyrant. Everybody go read Iron Widow. Go read Heavenly Tyrant. I'm obsessed with them. If you are a Fourth Wing girly, I'm begging you to read Iron Widow. Like, similar themes, similar plots, but Iron Widow is better. There's no dragons. Well, kind of. There's kind of dragons in it, sort of. Not in the way you would think, but personally, I think if every Fourth Wing girly read Iron Widow and Heavenly Tyrant, we would finally enact the revolution to create the utopia of our dreams. It's just, it's so good. It's not as spicy as Fourth Wing. Like and I don't need to compare it to Fourth Wing. Just a lot of the themes are similar. Similar protagonists, like both disabled protagonists, who have a lot of feminine rage and female rage in them. If you like female rage and you have not read Iron Widow, what are you doing? I will never stop singing praises of those books. I love them so much. The next category is a fiction book about astrology. Did I put this category in this challenge so that I could read Zodiac Academy? I'll never tell. Yes, I am going to read Zodiac Academy to fulfill this challenge. I feel like I'm going to really like it. And again, I feel that way about a lot of popular romantic book talky books. And what always happens to me is while I'm reading them, I'm like, I hate this. This is the worst thing I've ever read. And then I finished the book and I said, this is my new personality now. I'm obsessed with this. This is the greatest thing I've ever read in my life. It's like I only remember all my favorite parts of it. I did that with ACOTAR. I did that with Fourth Wing. I know I'm doing it with Quicksilver right now. It's kind of why it's taken me a while to get through Quicksilver. They're just so silly. But then I finished them and I'm like, greatest thing ever. 10/10, everybody go read this. So yes, Zodiac Academy, low-key, I'm probably gonna do a twofer for this too because I really want to read The Astrology House. I really want to read that one because it seems so right up my alley as far as a mystery plot. The last category for this challenge is a book about witches. So for this one, I am going to break my contemporary romance boycott. It's not a boycott, but one of my favorite authors, the author of my childhood, Meg Cabot, has a romance called Enchanted to Meet You, and it is about a cute little witchy girl, and she's plus size, and so I love that, and so I really want to read that one. So I am going to fulfill this category with that. One, to give a contemporary romance a shot, another one a shot, and see if maybe I like that, because it is from an author I love. Like, one of my other favorite series of all time that I read so many times as a kid is the Mediator series. Oh my god, obsessed with those books. Love, love, love. And the title is one of my favorite Taylor Swift songs of all time, so like, duh. So that is the TBR for that 12 categories challenge. I'm really excited to read it. I had really a lot of fun like thinking of categories to suggest to my friends and seeing what categories they suggested, and it's all, like I said, a kind of cool conglomeration of different categories and different books, so I'm really excited to read those 12 books. The other challenge, my roommate and I both want to read 10 classics this year. So, like I said, 2 of them will already carry over. Orlando and The Scarlet Pimpernel are 2 of the classics that I'm going to read. Since like college, have been pretty resistant to reading classics because I associated them so much with academia and school and not reading for pleasure, reading as a chore, reading as work. In February for Valentine's Day, because the greatest romance, maybe not the greatest romance, but romance is Wuthering Heights. Duh, obviously, I simply must. The next one I'm going to read is The Picture of Dorian Gray. I know I have not read this one. Now I will say I have not read this one. My roommate has. I know it's going to be a banger. The next one I'm going to read is Jane Eyre. I read a Jane Eyre retelling last year, and so I kind of want to go back and read the original. Well, the next one in October, I want to read Dracula. Vampires are making a comeback right now. I just saw Nosferatu, loved it, slay. 10 out of 10. So I want to read Dracula and kind of like see the inspiration behind that. Another book I'm gonna read, which I've actually started, I'm listening to it on audiobook, which is The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. The reason I want to read it is because I really want to read James this year, and that is about Jim from The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, so I want to read the original first and then read James and be able to kind of compare the two. The next one I'm gonna read, I'm sure you Epic the Musical girlies will love this one, is The Odyssey. But the main reason I want to read this is because next year in 2026, Christopher Nolan is going to have his The Odyssey movie come out, and I love Christopher Nolan. To prepare for that, I'm putting The Odyssey as one of my classics. I also want to read East of Eden by John Steinbeck. I've read The Grapes of Wrath before. That was also for school, and it was for like a 3-week history course, so we just kind of plowed through that really quick. I did not absorb much of it. John Steinbeck himself said that this is like his magnum opus, so I want to see if this is better. I am going to reread Great Expectations. I read this one for school with an English teacher I didn't love. However, the girlies in this book are kind of a sleigh. I do think Miss Havisham is an icon and a legend, so I'm hoping that I will like it better on a read through for pleasure. So those are my 2 reading challenges, but then I have a few other hopefuls that I'm really excited for. Obviously, like I said, I want to read Throne of Glass and Crescent City. I don't know if I'm gonna get through all of them this year, but I'm gonna try. Obviously, a book I am very, 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 very excited about. Next week, Onyx Storm comes out. So that is obviously on my TBR. I think I'm gonna try to see if I can crush it in a day. January 21st, you will not hear from me. I am gonna vlog it, so I'm gonna vlog my reactions. I'm so excited. Eee! I can't wait. I also want to read the rest of the Earthsea cycle because I really enjoyed that. So because they're kind of shorter books, I think I'm going to couch those in between like some of my bigger reads like Throne of Glass. I think I'm going to couch those in between. And I already love Ursula K. Le Guin's prose so much, so I think that those will be good little palette cleansers in between some of my bigger physical books. Another book that you will not hear from me when it comes out, Sunrise on the Reaping. I'm so excited about this one. I mean, any Hunger Games book I'm here for. I'm so excited. I cannot wait for it. I will be sat. And Hamish's Games, come on. And last but not least, I think the book I'm going to read after, maybe the whole series I'm gonna read after Onyx Storm is Spark of the Everflame. Another one where everyone is telling me I'm going to love it, that I think it's gonna be so good. So I really want to read that. I've got it in my library on Kindle Unlimited, so I'm ready to read that. Honestly, one of the things I'm trying to do is, because I'm kind of new to the booktube scene, I kind of want to catch up with all of the book talk girlies on some of the big popular books because I want an opinion on them and I want to be able to talk about them whether or not I like them. I don't care what my opinion is. I have FOMO. I have FOMO. And that's it. Those are many of the books I want to read in 2025. Like I said, I want to read 50 books this year. So I've got so much more on my TBR. I've got a lot on my physical TBR, my audiobook TBR. I did just get a Kindle for Christmas, so don't even get me started on what my digital TBR is about to look like. But I can't wait to take you along. A lot of these I'm going to do reading vlogs. Like I said, Onyx Storm is going to be a vlog. I will give lots of reviews for these, and I'm just really excited to share this with you. So if you want to stick around and see all of that, don't forget to hit the subscribe. Tell me in the comments what books you're excited to read in 2025. Is it any of these books? Is it something different? What else should I add to my TBR? And if you made it this far, add a little crystal ball emoji, haha. And don't forget to follow me on my other socials. You can always talk with me live about books on my Twitch channel, or hit me up on my other socials and see what's going on in my book loving life. And other than that, I will see you in the next one. Bye, besties.